Well, thank you for joining me today on my Facebook Live video about making friends with your emotions. And it's great to have you here. And so please, if you would, just say hello as you're joining, whether that's live or whether that's a little bit later when you're watching. It's hard I can tell people are here, but I can't tell who's here. So it's just great to have you. And I had a favor that after we're done, if you feel like there's been some real helpful information here for you, if you could share that on your page, what it'll do is, honestly, it will just give other people a chance to make friends with their emotions too, because honestly, life is so hard when we don't know how to do this in healthy ways. Well, as I was preparing for today, I realized that I had way too much to share in one video. And so today I decided to split this into two parts, okay? So today is part one, which is going to be practical things that you can do to get in touch with and recognize your emotions and to sort of start the beginning process of being able to know them and express them in healthy ways. And so part two, which is going to be next week, I'm going to be talking about the ways that we all learned how to deal with our emotions growing up. There are three ways that are not very healthy and not so good for us, and there's one way that is very good for us. And so I'm going to be sharing that next week, as well as, of course, things that you can do to learn some new ways that work much better for you. And this is such an important topic. I've actually devoted an entire chapter in my book, Give Yourself a Break, Turning Your Inner Critic into a Compassionate Friend, because being able to deal with your emotions in compassionate ways is just a key factor in being able to be connected to yourself and to others and to have quality relationships, as well as being connected to God. So next week, I usually share, as you know, Fridays at 1, but next week I'm going to be sharing Thursday at 4 because our nephew is going to be visiting from Washington. And so he's going to be here for a long weekend, Friday through Sunday. And so unfortunately, I won't be able to see you on Friday, but I didn't want to miss a week. So I decided to talk to you next Thursday at 4. And if that's a bad time for you, don't worry about it. Just check in later because the video will just be there waiting for you. Okay? So, making friends with your emotions is a great topic suggested by a viewer. And, you know, most of us have very mixed feelings or experiences about our emotions. And there's kind of four major scenarios that I tend to see. The first one is you might feel like you actually have way too many emotions and they get you in trouble. You might feel controlled by them. Sometimes they're a liability for you. Later you regret things or actions that you did, words you said or actions that you did when you were emotionally distressed. And so for you, you want to learn from them, but you certainly don't want to be controlled by them, okay? Another group of people is that you may actually feel like you don't feel much emotion at all, and maybe not as much as you at least observe other people feel. And that's probably true for you. And where that comes from often is either years and years of just pushing down those emotions because you don't need to know what to do with them. And so you just kind of push them down and do the best you could. And or also you just never learned growing up what those emotions were or what to do them. They might seem mysterious and confusing to you, and your lack of access to these emotions may cause you to not feel as close to other people or other people not feel as close to you. And it can also affect how much you enjoy life because your emotions are kind of muted. So you want to understand your emotions, but you just have no idea where to start. A lot of people feel this way. Okay? Another scenario is that actually you might feel a lot of emotion all at one time and feel very confused. And so oftentimes your emotions might come up a whole bunch at one time. Actually, that's actually pretty normal. But it might be because that's hard. You might feel like, I just cannot sort them out. I don't know what's going on. And even if you want to make friends with your emotions, you may feel so overwhelmed and confused. You might just say, you know what, just forget it. Never mind. It's just too hard, okay? And then another scenario is you might have gone through some really difficult traumatic times growing up or even as an adult, and there's a whole set of emotions that are kind of trapped inside that get triggered by things now happening in your life that are not the same but maybe have a similar feel to them. And so what happens is those emotions just all of a sudden come up, and you don't even know why you're feeling or what you're feeling. And that can be part of a traumatic response when those emotions have not been worked through completely. And then you can really feel hijacked, like your system is hijacked. You don't even know what happened. Okay. So as you can see, there are many ways to feel like I want to make friends with my emotions, but I simply don't know what to do. Okay. So that's what today is about. I'm going to be helping with that. All right, so today what I'm going to start with, I'm going to share just a little bit today, because I realized if I was to share everything that I'd like to, I would be talking for 2 days straight, and believe me, you don't really want that. So I decided I'm going to share a little bit today, a little bit more next week, and if there's still other things you want to know, I'd be happy to share more. So just a couple of baseline things, all right? First, believe it or not, God created and gave us our emotions to help guide us like a GPS. So like the GPS on your phone. You know, you want to go somewhere, you pull up Google Maps on your phone or on your computer, and it gives you directions. Okay, and then as you start driving, all of a sudden you start getting all this input. Okay, like, hey, there's a pothole in the road, or you need to go left here, or there's slow traffic, or there's police ahead, or what are you doing? Recalculate, go back. And that GPS is there to help you get where you want to go. And so honestly, that's kind of what our emotions are like. God put them in us to guide us, to help us understand what's going on, what's going well, what isn't, to help guide us. And He has no problems with the emotions that we feel. He actually created them in us, and He created them to guide us and to enrich us, to help us connect to ourselves and Him and others, and also to help us more fully experience life and process through both the good and the bad things that happen. So it's just important to realize that they're good and that God created them, okay? Second, it's helpful to see our emotions as giving us valuable information that we can learn and grow from, that they're actually really helpful in our life if we know what to do with them, right? So working compassionately with our emotions will actually help us make better choices about how we express those emotions to others. See, it's important to realize that where we actually get into trouble is when our strong emotions cause us to do things or say things that, you know, we regret and that we wish we hadn't done, because they kind of take over. And it's not the emotions themselves, though, it's our actions out of that emotion. That is the concern. So if we can approach our emotions with a curiosity about what they have to say, what they can teach us, it's pivotal in both treating ourselves with compassion and also coming to our own aid when distressed. Because see, those emotions let us know what's going on, and we'll be able to help ourselves in ways that we really need if we're connected to our emotions. Okay? So here's some tips, all right? So when emotions come up, it's healthy to, number one, stop and listen to yourself instead of judging yourself or pushing those emotions away. Instead, kind of pause, take a deep breath, and step back and ask yourself some questions, some really helpful questions. They're intended to get to know you and what's going on. So here's a few that I often ask myself, okay? So first one, like, what's going on inside of me? What do I need right now? What message is this emotion trying to send me? Like, what am I to pay attention to? Emotion's trying to get me to pay attention to something, right? And then, you know, do I need to address this problem of whatever's going on that my emotions are letting me know about? And then lastly, another question is, how can I help soothe and calm myself down in the moment? That's super important. So those are really helpful questions you can ask yourself. And for many of us, the above caring questions are not our instinctual or automatic response. That isn't what we automatically do, okay? Instead, what we do, without meaning to, we just do, is we might gloss over their emotions, kind of minimize them, they're no big deal. We might react strongly to them, we might judge them or be critical of ourselves because of them. We might push them down, or we just go numb because it's what we're used to. It's what we know to do. And this happens because we haven't learned healthy ways to process our emotions. So, of course, naturally, we end up repeating what we've grown up with, even if our methods don't work, right? But the reality is, we can only know what we do know, right? We can only know what we know. We can only do what we've seen or what we've experienced. And so that's actually what I'm going to talk about next week, is trying to understand more, kind of like, why do I do what I do in these situations? What's going on inside? And of course, what can I do differently? So that's kind of the first part. The second is, okay, well, all of this, and what are we supposed to do? All right. What is emotional maturity? What are healthy ways to both have and express emotions? So, just a little recap. It means allowing ourselves to notice and have the emotions, even the upsetting ones, to try to give them a name, label them. Well, I think I'm feeling angry, or I'm disappointed, or I'm scared right now. And then express them in ways that are not harmful to ourselves or other people. So that process, which actually is much more complicated than that, but that kind of gives you a feel of what you're shooting for. The process actually helps lower the intensity of the emotion. It helps calm our system down, and it helps your emotions not hijack your system so that you end up doing or saying things that you later regret. And those actions that you do, when you're emotionally distressed like that, are really not even who you are. It's just that your emotions might have gotten away from you when you were upset. So when we do this, when we have emotions, name them, express them in healthy ways, we will be more connected to ourselves and also to other people and to God. And we'll often move through these emotions much more quickly. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me this week. Toward the beginning of the week, I woke up just kind of feeling down. I had a down day. And so I wanted to kind of unpack it, like, what's going on? Because that isn't normally my state. I have ups and downs like everybody, but I don't normally wake up just feeling very down. So I just was sitting there, and I was just like, why am I doing all this online? Like, why am I doing these videos, and why am I writing articles, and why am I taking my time? Like, I'm just tired, and I should just give up and just forget the whole thing. I should just stay in my PJs and watch movies all day. That's what I said. But by the way, I don't actually feel this way. So that's actually why I noticed it. Like, I don't actually feel this way. So what is going on? So I realized that I'd had a bad sleep. I hadn't eaten a lot that day, so I think I was worn out. And I was also grieving about some things that were harder for me to do than they used to be. And so every time this happens, that I have something that now I realize takes me longer, or I get more tired, or I have difficulty doing, I go through a whole grief process. And so when I realized that, I noticed and I said to myself, you know what? Oh, you're having a grief day. You're sad today. And you're noticing that things are harder than they used to be. And it's hard for you, and you're just sad and you're grieving. And I thought, oh, okay, that's what's going on. So I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to rest today and recuperate. I'm going to get a good sleep, and hopefully tomorrow will be a different day, another day, a different day. So I did. I took care of myself, and the next day was better. I actually woke up feeling more positive, and I was actually excited about some of the things I'm working on at home. And I didn't take action and quit everything, but I was kind to myself and a friend to myself. And so my emotions were something that I paid attention to, but they didn't determine my actions just then, because it was a temporary thing I was able to figure out. Now, I want you to realize that it took me almost the whole day to figure that out, all right? It isn't like I just all of a sudden figured it out. It took a while of feeling it and paying attention to it until I could figure out the pieces. And sometimes it takes me days to figure things out, okay? So honestly, it isn't how much time it takes that matters. It's actually being there for yourself and your emotions as a kind friend. That's actually the part that matters, all right? Well, next, I just want to let you know that there's a lot of benefits of being emotionally healthy and mature. I'm just going to list a few of them. There's more, I'm sure. But for instance, when we understand our emotions, it actually reduces that confusion and distress on the inside. It increases connection to ourselves. You can feel like, wow, I can be a good friend to myself, and I can figure out what's going on. And also it helps us come up with solutions to whatever problem you're having. And it helps us be a good friend to ourselves. And another big one is that it helps us a ton in our relationships, because they're not, up and down or as volatile when we're able to be connected with what's going on and then make wise choices. And of course, it helps us to not have to clean things up later, things that happen where you just go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did that or I said that. So having emotional maturity and just connection with yourself in positive ways helps enormously. Well, one thing to realize, though, is that emotions can be very complicated and layered. It just means you have a whole bunch of them, and one's on the top, and then there's another, and then there's another. And just realize that it's important to know, so that you don't feel crazy, that that even a positive situation can bring up a whole bunch of emotions at the same time, even different kinds. So for instance, when multiple emotions come up at the same time, it's common to feel confused or kind of like, what's wrong with me, So I'm just going to give an example. Let's say you're getting married. I got married at 38 years ago to my husband, Dave. And say you're getting married and you notice that you're very excited to get married. This is like a dream come true. At the same time, you're kind of nervous. Like, that's how I felt. I was kind of nervous. I'd never been a wife before. I wasn't really sure how to do that or what it would be like. And we were going to be moving because of schooling. And there's a lot of unknowns out there, although I was completely excited and delighted. But I also noticed that I was a little bit sad about giving up some freedoms that I'd had as a single person. And at the very same time, I was anticipating my new life with my spouse. So it's just like there was all kinds of emotions all at the same time, and they all made sense, right? So it's healthy to let ourselves have these emotions and accept them as normal, that it's normal to have these kinds of multiple emotions when you have changes in your life. So here's another one. Let's just say that your child is going off to college, or maybe they're moving away for another job or something. They're not going to be around like they used to. So here's something kind you could say to yourself that kind of also explains the many emotions one might have, okay? So I'm having a lot of different emotions right now. I'm not even sure I understand them all. I can tell that I'm sad that my child is moving away to go to college. I mean, I'm happy for him or her, but I'm sad because he's not going to be around and I'm going to miss my child. But at the same time, a little part of me is kind of excited because I think I'm going to have more time and energy to pursue some things that I've had to put on the back burner for a really long time. I'm also a little bit nervous because I'm not sure like exactly, what I'm going to do or how I'm going to schedule my time, even though I may have a ton of other things. I might, work full time. I might have all kinds of commitments. But the fact is, I'm going to have some time open because some things have changed with my child not being around. So it's just normal to have all those kinds of feelings and just to be kind to yourself about it. Okay? So I'm going to just do a little recap of the Reader's Digest version of what I shared already. Okay? So first, everybody has trouble figuring out their emotions and expressing them in healthy ways. That's the first one. 2, emotions are good. God created them to guide us, to enrich us, to connect us with ourselves, others, and Him, and to help us experience life more fully. 3, it's healthy to allow yourself to notice and have emotions, even the distressing ones. Try to name them if possible and talk to yourself kindly about them. 4, when emotions come up, it's healthy to stop, breathe, listen to yourself without judging or pushing the emotions away, and step back and ask yourself some important questions to unpack the emotions. Kind of the ones I mentioned were, what's going on inside of me? What do I need? What message is this emotion sending that I might need to address? And do I need to address the problem in some way that my emotions are letting me know about? And then how can I soothe and calm myself in this moment? And then 5, talk to yourself kindly about your emotions. Even something like, I'm having a lot of emotions right now. I don't even know what they're about, but I'm going to breathe and give myself some time to figure them out. And I'm going to be kind to myself instead of being hard on myself. So I hope that that's been helpful. It's kind of a primer to get you started, just to pay attention this week to your emotions. And even if you're not sure what to say to yourself, just say, okay, I'm having an emotion. Let me give myself some time to think about what that's about. That's a huge step. Try that, okay? And next Thursday, I'll be back at 4 Pacific time. So it's going to be Making Friends with Your Emotions Part 2. I'm going to be talking about how we learned to, deal with our emotions in the way we do, how we got the style that we have, what to do about it, and of course the positive that change is possible, and learning healthier ways to deal with your emotions will make a big positive difference in your life. So thanks for being here. If you could share on your page, maybe right at the top, hey, watch this video about making friends with your emotions. The reason I say that is that when it gets shared, sometimes you can't tell what the topic is, and that'll help people know what it's about. So you have a good weekend. Please share any comments below about what was helpful for you today. It really helps me a lot to know, what really, was helpful, what made a difference to you. So I can do more of that. All right, so you take care, be good to yourself, and goodbye for now, and I will see you next week. All right, thanks.